The reason why it dysregulates you so much when the person doesn't text back, doesn't call back, ignores you, or is avoidant, the reason why it dysregulates you so much is because you need attention. Like, you are seeking attention because as a child, you weren't really given any attention, right? You were always seeking maybe the attention of your parents or other respected, adults in your life. And so you would do certain things to gain that attention, right? So either you're going to be super good, right? Good girl, where you're self-abandoning, right? And that will get you some good attention, some good praise, right? These are all the behaviors that we've learned very young. So you be a good girl, you be people-pleasing and self-abandoning, right? To get that attention that you were seeking, right? At a young age, which is normal. That's healthy, to want attention, right? Second thing you might do is cause arguments, right? Like when you feel like that, that person is withdrawing, you'll want to cause an argument to get some sort of reaction, because even that is attention, right? Even that is some sort of validation, or that that person is also feeling as intensely as you're feeling in the moment, right? So either you're going to be a good girl, or you're going to cause a fight for some sort of reaction or attention, or you're going to do some sort of performance or antics, right? So this could be like maybe playing some sort of silent game, or being moody, maybe trying to dress a certain way to get some sort of attention or attraction. Maybe you'll start talking to other people to satisfy that need for attention, right? These are all core childhood wounds for a need for attention, right? So those are three patterns that will show up when you start to feel triggered, right? When you start to feel like this person is pulling away. Another thing that you might do is really internalize it. Start to beat yourself up, start to feel shame, and start to feel rejection, and all of those things where you start to feel really, really sour on the inside. And then that will lead to maybe some of the tactics where it's like silent treatment or things like that, right? These are all wounds and patterns that we play in when we have that rejection wound or abandonment wound. And you can have two parents that have raised you and still have an abandonment wound. Like, if you feel like maybe your and this is, again, no shame to our parents or no shame to anything like that, but if your parents were maybe always working, or maybe they were paying attention to other kids, or maybe you didn't have a parent in the home, maybe it was a single parent household, maybe your parents, there was a lot of violence in the house, where it's physical or verbal or emotional, right? Even sexual abuse and things like that. So those are the only times that you get attention, when it's inappropriate attention, or your parents were too busy maybe in their own drama or in their own mess to give you attention. So the ways that you would get it is maybe acting out, again, doing the goody good and things like that, right? So these are also abandonment wounds. These are also rejection wounds. And so the way to heal this, first of all, is to recognize it, right? Recognize when these patterns show up. That's the first thing. Maybe you're not yet in a place where you can self-soothe and calm down in the moment, right? But at least recognizing first and foremost, this is a wound. This is a trigger. This is something that's coming up for me, right? Second stage of healing, or second thing you can do, is practice some sort of self-regulation, right? So rather than seeking that attention and validation from someone else, we need to practice giving that to ourselves. So what do you need in the moment, right? It's not about how do I get this person's attention. What do you need to feel safe and supported in this situation, in this circumstance, right? Maybe you need physical touch, right? Maybe go book a massage, go get your nails done, go get your hair done, do some sort of self-nurturing, right? Go take a hot shower, use some essential oils if you can. You can give yourself that feeling of physical touch through reconnecting with your body, through coming back into your body, whether it's through massage or something like that. Something else you can do, maybe you're feeling low self-esteem, get cute, right? Dress up, go do something that makes you feel really good in your appearance, right? Other thing to regulate yourself, maybe you go do some art, maybe you go, you sing, or you go for a walk, you go to the gym, you take a yoga class, Pilates, go for a run, go box it out, like whatever you need to do to regulate yourself so you don't feel so out of control when you're not getting a response back. Go practice that piece, right? Go practice that self-regulation. And then the third thing, which is controversial, right? But I feel like this really keeps us in our power, okay? And people are gonna say this is, poor communication skills, whatever. My third thing is actually not to talk about it. Like, don't talk about it with the person that is avoiding you, because it rarely comes out in a way that doesn't sound desperate, and doesn't sound like you're coming from a place of worth and empowerment. You don't need to talk about it. You don't need to pull yourself down, to that level where it's kind of like begging, or it's validating that seeking attention wound. When you go talk about it, it's like, I am seeking some sort of validation. You can say you're seeking understanding and things like that, but they know, right? We're all adults here, right? We're all adults. The person that's being avoidant knows exactly what they're doing. They absolutely know what they're doing. We're self-aware enough that we know, when we're acting out of pocket, right? And I'm not talking about, like small things here and there, but if it's a pattern where a person is, treating you a certain way, or not responding, or and expecting you to chase them and things like that, that's not by accident, right? That's not by accident. So make your presence known by withdrawing it, right? That's simple as that. And it's not in a way to create more chaos, or like a control tactic or a power tactic. It's actually a form of detachment, which is something that you need right now. As someone who is, seeking attention, seeking validation, you need to practice detachment. So this is not really something you need to talk about. It's not something you need to over-explain. It's not something you need to communicate with. You need to get to a place where you are so self-regulated that this does not bother you, okay? You're not going to give it any energy. You're not going to give it any attention. You are simply going to continue living on your life, right? And you're going to surround yourself with people who have integrity, right? People who have basic communication skills, people who have consideration for others, right? You're going to start intentionally choosing to be around people who share those same qualities as you, right? So we're not going to explain ourselves to people who are emotionally avoidant, who are distant. It's just adding salt to your wound, your literal childhood wound, by going and explaining and talking to a person who is, maybe they're not there, but either way, that's not your responsibility. Right now, you're going to focus on you. And if they and when you withdraw your presence, when you're not the one who's always chasing, when you have a really pleasant presence and, you really, showed up as your best, people are going to notice that, right? It might not be right away, but eventually they're going to come around, right? And again, it's not up to you to explain, to do all those things. You can be friendly, right? You can be understanding, but you're going to be so light. I just want you to be light, like, okay, that's cool. I understand, right? And, it's fine. Like, it's cool. I appreciate you explaining it to me. And that's it. I gotta go. I gotta go. I'm not here to continue on the conversation or to soothe, your conscience, right? Conscience. That's not your job, right? You can be graceful, accept the apology, and go on, because if you then, soothe the person and come back and over explain and be over dramatic, that is feeding back into your wound, right? You're getting, you're overwhelmed because you're getting some sort of validation. You're getting some sort of recognition or attention that you were seeking. Again, as a child, it's showing up in your adult relationships. You're getting that when they come back, and so that's going to, again, nurture that wound and that kind of push-pull dynamic that you're naturally seeking all the time. But you're not going to overgive and then, get into this pattern again of proving that you're worthy of the attention. No. If they come back, you just stay detached, right? Focus on your embodied healing. So reconnected with your body, asking yourself, what do you need? Do you need space? Do you need to feel cute? Do you need to see your girlfriends? Do you need to, be around other people, right? Maybe you need to work on a business or a passion or something else. What does your body need? Do you need physical touch? Do you need to release? Most times, I'm not going to lie to you, reconnecting with your body is going to ground you and support you and heal you the fastest, because we're so disconnected, and our energies, and we're in our masculine energy. It's constantly outputting. It's external, right? We're giving, we're pushing, we're driving, we're doing all of these things, and so we're so disconnected from ourselves. So anything that brings us back to our body, whether it's movement, dance, going to the gym, running, yoga, massage, anything that like expels the energy or allows you to absorb the energy. Swimming is also really good. You're just surrounded by water, being in nature. Any of those practices are really going to allow you to reconnect to your body, right? And bring that energy back to yourself, bring that feminine energy back to yourself. So we're not going to over explain, we're not going to over communicate. We're going to remain in our pleasant energy, and we're going to go into the Sacred Lotus Sanctuary, go to the Regulation Library or your own regulation library, and self-regulate, reconnect with your body, okay? I hope that this was helpful. This is something that I personally had to work through, and I still work through it, right? Healing is never the end of the journey. But if this resonated with you, if this made sense to you, if it's something that you are currently struggling with, or something that you're currently working through, let me know in the comments. Send me a DM and join the sanctuary, where we go deeper into what it means to experience embodied healing, particularly in these real life situations, when we're triggered, when we're faced with challenges, or when things feel overwhelming and we're dealing with childhood wounds again, right? There is, master classes in there. We have live coaching, we have live somatic healing, we have somatic healing recordings. The Regulation Library is there as far as, what are some situations that actually happen in life, and what are the things that I need to be doing to help me regulate myself again and reconnect with my body again. So there's a breakdown of, situational scenarios, and there's also just general stuff. So, you can always drop your questions in there. You can send me a DM. We can talk face to face on a live. And yeah, I really am believing in this healing for you, girl. I'm believing in it, and you are on the right path. The fact that you're here, the fact that you are watching this, the fact that you are doing this, you are on the right path. And every situation that comes into your life is a lesson to get you deeper into your healing, to get you deeper into your self-actualization. Like, who are you, you beautiful, feminine, divine being, right? We're not on this low level vibrational, seeking attention stuff, right? Being triggered and things like that. I mean, we're human and we go through this, but we, every time we take a step towards healing, we take a step towards self-actualization, discovering who we truly are, right? Moving out of that survival mode into joy and pleasure, like the divine being that you are, right? So yes, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao.